Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Trader Minute. I'm Carl. Thanks for tuning in this morning. It's great to have you on board. Looking here at the futures, there was a little jump here in the futures, and that was based on a much higher than expected jobless claims report. It surged 68,000 in initial claims. That put it up there to 368,000. It's the highest point since the shutdown, the government shutdown, that is. It's a weekly number. Yeah, it jumped a little bit on that, but really the worry right now in the market is what's going on there in DC and the talk of taper. Taper is back on the table, and the market, for a while there, I thought the market may have it priced in. I thought they might be used to the idea of a taper, and maybe that it's just nerves getting out. But uh, with the budget deal, right? With the possibility of a budget deal over there in Washington, that's seen as increasing the likelihood of tapering this year. And next week is the FOMC meeting, and but the bill still needs to get through the Senate as well as the House. But thoughts right now are that it's likely to pass at this point. So that's kind of the concern out there weighing on the market. A little jump in jobless claims maybe a month ago could have seen a little bit, but again, it's a weekly number. It's they try to adjust it seasonally. You can get some pretty wild swings this time of year, and so it's nothing that's going to be a big deal for the market. Um, so the economic calendar today, jobless claims. This came out. Also had a retail sales report that came out today. Retail sales rose to 0.7% in November versus zero point 0.6 in October. All right, now let's go ahead to next week here. So next week you can see the FOMC meeting begins on Tuesday, and on Wednesday of next week, 12 o'clock Mountain Time, 2 o'clock Eastern Time, is when the FOMC meeting announcement comes out. Okay, so yeah, it's always a big one for the market. It can be a mover up or down depending on what they do. It's all going to be listening to what's going on with the thought of taper. That's what this is all going to be about. So, Darren, yeah, Hilton IPO today. Got some nice hotels. Okay, so as far as the market goes, some big news out of Facebook today. I don't know if you saw it. Facebook is being added to the S&P 100 and the S&P 500. It's replacing Williams Companies, that's WMB, in the 100, and it's replacing Teradyne, that's TER, in the S&P 500. So pretty good news out on Facebook today, and that being added. Now it's a giant company, right? It's got like a billion registrants. I wouldn't call them users. As far as active users, I don't know what they've got, but it's a giant powerhouse. And for a new company like that to be added to the S&P within what, they haven't even been out a year yet. I don't remember when that IPO was, but it goes by too fast for me. But relatively new to the marketplace, and there they are, added that fast. So that's nice for Facebook, and their shares were up slightly. One thing that's going on today, if you look over here at gold futures, here's gold futures sold off quite a bit. Gold at the moment's down about $22, which is about 1.75%. Silver's down more so percentage wise. It's down 3%, 62 cents. So commodities taking a beating today. Okay, and Lululemon. I had a lady once a couple years ago say it's Lululemon. So I don't know the store. I know their stock. And anyways, they beat by 4 cents. The revenues were slightly higher. However, right when they're announcing the results, that's looking in the rearview mirror, and when they lower guidance, something like that can happen. They were closed last night just above $68 per share. They got down as low as 58. Right now they're trading about $63. So down about $6 right now for Lululemon. That's much easier to pronounce. That's what lowering guidance can do for you. And it was is a pretty good, pretty sizable lower as far as guidance goes. Okay, Apple. Apple back in the news. They got reiterated a buy with a price target raised from 580 to 600 over at Canaccord. They see the China deal as can really boost their sales, and I do too. But that can be priced in so much, and then it's a matter of the reports that start coming out of China, and the number of iPhones and tablets that are being sold over there. Speaking of Apple, Qualcomm, they provide some of the parts for the phones. They're getting some positive attention by Nomura. They raised the price target from 78 to 85, citing that substantial opportunity with China Mobile and Apple. So Qualcomm could be seen. Nomura has been pretty active lately. It's to get out there with upgrades and downgrades. They've been all over the boards out there this morning. One stock that we've been looked at here, we even traded there recently, was MRO. They were downgraded today to a neutral by Citi. They were downgraded to a neutral by Citi. Oh, thanks, John. I was wondering if anybody could hear me out there. Yeah, they can. And Oracle, they got downgraded by a couple companies to a neutral and to an equal weight by Morgan Stanley and also RBC Capital. So Oracle with a downgrade today. Micron was upgraded to a buy, price target at $30 from 16 over at Nomura as well. Now Tesla was set to gap up about 60 cents or so this morning. Now, the bell has just rung. Let's go over here and see what's going on. So the S&P itself, it's just opening flat, down 0.51. Pretty flat open for the market itself. Tesla, it's not trading yet. Should be coming in here shortly. Again, pre-market they were set to gap up between 60 cents and $1. The bid and ask was right around that range. Okay, some of the other stocks, I'll give this a second. Some of the other stocks that we looked at yesterday, we also looked at Ford, right? They're coming out. I saw them pre-market down about 11. They're coming out, gapping down about 7 cents right now. Now this is, it's a lower dollar stock in the $16 range. You can get some pretty big days, but a lot of times it just kind of moves slowly throughout the day. You'll notice not a whole lot of gaps. There's a few gaps here, but for the most part, it just opens and then runs one way or the other. This was our TrendRider Bear. This was our TrendRider Bear signal. Maybe, I'm not sure if Tom is on mute on his computer there, but that's happened to me before. Let's go back to Tesla. Up 87 cents. So it's gapped up in that range there. It's still flat overall. Looking at this technically, it's good to be up that, but there's just not much technical action yet. We want to see this push up here off the 140 mark today. That's what we'd love to see. All right, that's what we're expecting to see. One of the other stocks we looked at yesterday was EMC. This is another one of my top 3. This was also a TrendRider Bear signal. They're down about 8 cents right now. So again, nothing big technically. They've gapped down 8 cents and just sitting at that point right now. And the other one was Altria. And they're down about 25 cents right now. This is the one that was up big yesterday with the market. It was up big with the market. It's pulling back right back to the 7 right now. 26 cents, not a big deal. Just watch this. It did the same thing yesterday. You notice it opened and ran down slightly and then went back up by the end of the day. So watch it and see what this is going to do. But right now, I mean, if it closes below the 7, then get out, right? If it turns around and keeps running, then let it go. Right now, it's just too early to call anything on that. Let's go take a tour around the market. Let's look at Apple. I know we got a lot of Apple traders out there. It's up about $2 again, pretty flat really for Apple right now. It's just sitting right there above the 560 mark and right on the 7-day moving average. And then Google, same thing, up about $3, but overall fairly flat for a Google at this point. Some of the other stocks that we've looked at here, we had Mosaic, one of the top threes, gap down about 11 cents today. It's down near that 44 range. 44 was the initial target here. If it goes through 44, then stay in the trade. You could stay in it until it closes back above the lower Bollinger Band there too. Okay, which gets down at 44. I'm starting to get an itchy trigger finger, but at 43, I would have that trigger finger ready to go. Some of the stocks that, let's look at, oops, spelled that wrong. Adobe. All right, Adobe Systems, not doing a whole lot today. TWX. So this was a top three from a couple days ago, back on the 10th. And yeah, so far it jumped up on that day, went down a little bit yesterday. Today it's right back on the 66 and the 7-day moving average. Watch it. Still a little bit early. See if it runs up in the day. If it closes below the 7, then you're out, right? But right now, it's fairly flat. It gets gapped down about 25 cents is where it's sitting right now. But it's way too early to call anything on that. And then Baidu. All right, someone take my keyboard away. Baidu just flat this morning. The market opens flat. Most things open flat. And that's what we're seeing, just a lot of flatness so far. It's right there on the 7, it's still above it slightly. Really, it still has the signs of this thing breaking higher. A close below the 7 and 170, it would be pretty short-term bearish for this. But and that's where I'd get out if I happen to be in the trade still. That's where I'd get out if it unclosed below the 7 there in 170. That would change the bullish nature here. But watch it throughout the day. It's still early. If it turns and starts to rally back up, you still got something going. Okay. TWX, with it still above the 7, it's too early to say if it still looks bullish, but that's still above the 7 here. That gives us bullish nature. That seems it'd still be bullish on the stock. Just look and see if it pushes up off the 7 today and goes higher, or if it closes below the 7, then that's where you'd get out. Thanks, Vegas. Yeah, it's pretty early out here. I've always been an early bird, but doesn't mean I can always type really good first thing in the morning. With CREE, the Cree Incorporated, so it closed below the 7. Let's zoom in on this a little bit here. Closed below the 7 after a run up here. You can see it set a bottom here. I guess you could call that a higher high. Now you just got to see where this next round, if it holds or not. It may come to 56 again, but got to see if you start setting a new high. A bullish sign for this would be a push back up through the 7, headed back up towards the 58 mark. Bearish would if it be another day where it comes back down. 56, I would think, should be a little bit of support for it. Yeah, that's a pretty decent level. You look all across this area right here. 56, it's been lower a couple times, but 56 is the mark. It could come down to that range, but watch it around that level and see if it holds and runs higher. So if I was bearish here, I'd watch it throughout the day here. It could run down, but to get bullish on, it's got to push back up through that 7-day moving average, and that 58 area is what I'd like to see And then you might have something going and it come back up here probably towards the 62 mark. If you can get through 60, 62 would be there. Yes, cheery. The VIX. Yeah, I haven't looked at that. I looked at it yesterday on that big spike higher above 15. The number that used to be about 6, 7 years ago for the VIX to hit 30 was really saying something. It's dropped to about 20 and even 15. Okay, but because we've had such a well, ever since the financial crash ended, we haven't seen those giant levels of volatility like we had there back in those days where the VIX got up into the 90s. That was incredible. And when the VIX raises that high, when it's that high, you can expect 2 to 3 to 400 point moves in a day. And we were seeing them like crazy back in the financial crisis. It was, oh, here's another day. We're up 300 points. We're up 400. We're up 700. Or we're down 400 to 500, 700. And then there was a flash crash, right, where the market dropped to 1,000 points. Really, it was down about 300, 350 on the flash crash day. And then I remember the day well. I'd come in from lunch and looking at the futures on CNBC, and they were dropping in 50-point increments. I'd never seen anything like it. 50, I mean 500, 550, 600, and it just kept going all the way. Just about hit 1,000. It's like someone turned a switch off and they reversed and went back up about 700 points. Still closed down that day about 350 or so, if my memory serves me correct. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I mean, a lot of, nowadays when I talk about the market having a correction or something like that, a thought in a lot of people is, oh, is this the next crash? And it's not likely. They don't happen too often, especially the size of the financial crisis that we saw there. That's once in 100 year type of a thing. Well, once I guess the last time we saw something like that was about what 90 years ago, 90, 85 years ago, something like that. Okay, so Facebook, yeah, up higher, about 3% higher right now. It's in the upper band, it's up above 50. That's pretty good news for Facebook. This is likely to hold that $50 level. You'll like to see it get more attention. I mean, it's got a lot of attention from the institutions. It's obvious to see the price jump like this. It's got a lot of attention from the institutions. It might get a little bit more, but yeah, that was amazing. The day the flash crash. I talked to a guy. That was an incredible day. I jumped in and traded a little bit of forex and did really well. It's going nuts. But a friend of mine happened to be trading. He had puts. He had it. Just happened to set it up right. I mean, he'd been taught well, and he had puts on the SPY that day, about $20,000 worth of puts on the SPY, and all he was doing was playing for some downside. And it just happened to be the day of the financial, I mean, of the flash crash. He sold out on that for a. He had a $120,000 gain. He sold out still for an $80,000 gain. It just pure luck. I haven't traded forex in a while, but this guy just happened to have puts on the SPY, and just incredible. I mean, that's one of those stories you hear about. It's luck. He had the direction right because the market was already weak, so he had that right. But it just happened to be the day of the flash crash too, and he scored. Yeah, I always hear those stories and I remember them, but just just happened to be right place, right time, and was watching it too because he could have cashed out with less. I'm sure he would have still had a gain, but not with as much of a gain. I want to run through real fast, and I want to run through out and look at the through the financials. I'd like to see what they're doing. Bank of America was down pretty big yesterday, and then Wells Fargo not doing a whole lot. The financials fairly flat this morning. We go back to the market. Yeah, it's not moving either. It's moved in about like a uh, fraction of a range so far today. Yeah, Jake, you did hit the lottery. At 1,000 shares short in U.S. Steel. Yeah, congrats. Nice. That was a day to remember. Tradehound. This guy, he was, believe it or not, he's in his early 20s, and he had some money, had a little bit of money, and he got interested in trading, and he learned how to do it, and he was doing pretty good in trading, and then so he quit his job. I used to work with the guy. He quit his job because he went home and started trading, and just happened to have a trade sitting out there that set him up pretty well. Okay. I haven't heard from the guy since. It's been a long time, but I'm not sure what he did with that. But yeah, that's a nice payday. MRO this morning, they got downgraded to a neutral by Citi, and there's no reaction to that at all so far. It's been positive. Tesla, it's up about 16 cents still. It's just flat. It's right there on that same level. And so we'll watch this throughout the day, see what this is going to do. Run back through the top three from yesterday. Ford, still flat. It's down 5 cents. Just flat so far. EMC, same thing. Fairly flat. It's down 4 cents. And then Altria, down 2 cents. So you see how fast that turned around. The day's still pretty young here. Very young. And then from a couple days ago, Mosaic, down 5 cents. TWX. Okay, MRO's on Kramer's list today. All right. TWX just right there. It's gapped down just slightly. It's up from where we saw a little while ago. Just watch it. If it closes below the 7, get out. If it pushes up above it, hey, let it keep going for you. And then KeyBank, nice little rebound yet from yesterday. Yesterday it went down there, tested the 7, and today it's pretty much made up for all of the losses from yesterday. It's up 15 cents. If a break up here through 13 and up through that, up in the upper band right there, it would do wonders. And this is a stock that outperformed the market yesterday. The market sold off big. This sold off at one point, but came back and still held up above the 7 there. And so far it looks fine on KeyBank. And this was from a couple days ago on the 10th. Stocks I'm watching today. U.S. Steel. It would be nice to see this break down in below 26 and into that lower Bollinger Band. It's got all. Not going to say it's going to happen yet, but this is one. I've been watching this for a little while to wait for that to happen. It'd be a nice setup if that would break that 26 mark, jump into the lower band. You'd see the RSI breaking 50. And you'd see this start to rise, saying the bands are starting to expand. We'll keep an eye on that throughout the day. It's got down to the 24 area, maybe even 23 if that happens. If it doesn't, then it might break to the upside. But this will be one we're watching because it's got down to these levels before. It just can't get into the lower Bollinger Band there and hold it. So too early to call on it, but right now that's up there on the list. And then Colgate-Palmolive. Another one, same thing. Watch if this breaks down in the lower band. It's got some room to go down below it, but right now it's still in the same range it's been at for. It's been down here a few times in the last week. Just got to watch it and see if it goes into that lower band, and then look to make that if it happens. Okay. Let's go look at bonds quickly. The TLT, there's just not much action here. It's going to need some type of a catalyst for this to get up and going. It's just been sideways and flat. It's just doesn't seem to go anywhere. Another stock we're keeping our eyes on, but it's not doing anything, is Toyota. When this thing turns, it's going to take off. It's just not turning. It just keeps going lower and lower and lower. Apache, talk about a bearish chart. This had not seen an up day since last part of November. It's been down every day since the very last part of November, right around the 29th, 28th, 29th of November. has not seen the light of day since. It's still dropping. Lockheed Martin, if this one were to reverse today and close higher and give up all the loss, the sell off it had yesterday, it would be very positive and likely to run higher here. But right now, it just got to watch and see what this is going to do. Harley Davidson, if it closed down here, yeah, I'd get out. Um, right now, it's kind of early, but if it closed here, I'd get out, take it. Uh, it might come back. It's just one of these things. You got to give it some time and see what it's going to do today, and not react to early signals like this. Okay, and that's one thing I've learned. I mean, I'm sure you guys have done the same thing if you've been trading a long time. In the middle of the day, you're looking at a chart, it's gone against you, and you don't want to go for a walk because you're just too worried about it. So you sit there and watch it, and you worry, and you sell out, and what happens by the end of the day? It turns around and runs back the same direction you thought it's going to go. So what we do is try to be patient. Now there are times when you get out a little bit earlier in the day because it maybe the market's dropping and everything's dropping underneath you. But a lot of times, if you're patient and watch it towards the close, you know, then sometimes it can come back for you. So that's what I do, Matt. I'd watch it today into the close. If it gets too far away out of your comfort zone, then sell it, move on. But I'd give it till about that last hour and see what happens there. Disney, small gap down. It's gapping, but well, it went below the 7 yesterday, and now it's gapping down today. So it's taken the short-term bullish nature out of it whenever it gets down below the 7 like that. But when it gets down below the 7 like that, it takes a bullish nature out of it. If it happened to push back up above the 7 and 70 today, that'd be a really strong signal. But right now, as far as news or anything, this isn't real. Doesn't look like a news-driven event. Maybe more like just some technicals. Maybe there's news. I haven't looked at that, but Ford, yeah, there it goes, down about 1%, jumping down further in the band like that. That's what you're looking to see. I'd look at this to go down towards the 16, possibly the 1575 mark. 1575 mark is going to be that's going to be the level. But if I got a decent gain around 16 and it starts to show a little bit of life, I'd probably just take it. Eh, With Vornado, yeah, good looking chart. Scroll up here and we can zoom in on this. So this has been in a channel right between about 90 and 88. So it's about a $2 channel. And this is early, but if this breaks down into that lower Bollinger Band today, so if it ends up pretty close to where it's at, maybe a little bit further, you know, draw something on there like that, it would be a trend right or bear signal. The volumes have been pretty big in the area, but that's got to happen. What you don't want to have happen is enter it like right now, if you happen to enter right now, and then have it close back up here above 88 today. And then guess what? There's odds saying it's going back to 90. So you got to watch this right the last part of the day and see if it's closing like this. Look at the volumes, and if it breaks down to that level, you can see already see the RSI is breaking below 50, which is positive, and the bands are starting to expand. It's got to break down in there and hold that the last part of the day. If it doesn't, again, if it closes back up here around 88, and because it's done this thing in the mornings here a bunch of times, right? All these times where it looks like it's going to break down like that and doesn't at the end of the day. So it's got to be an end of day decision. If it does that, it's likely to run down towards the 86 mark. Give it $2 here within the channel. That would be the initial price target. Is around 86 on Vornado. And always check to see if there's any kind of earnings or any kind of news going out on before you ever enter any time to trades. Not a lot of earnings reports right now, but they're starting to pick up a little bit. There's always companies that announce just prior to an earnings season, BlackBerry is one of those. I'm not sure. They're always, a week or two ahead of the new earnings period. KeyBank, yeah, I mean, that's a nice looking chart so far. It's up over 1%, jumping up into the upper Bollinger Band. A close right here would be very positive. It would be another bull vibe signal. This was on my top three from 2 days ago. But a close like this, I don't have the vibe on here. There we go. A closeout like this today would be another bull vibe signal. You got all the averages rising. You got positive indicators here. You've had some decent volumes here. And excuse me for a sec. Decent volumes. You look at the volume of yesterday, it looks like a big sell day, but no, it was down. It was still above the 7 and even came up off the 7. But today, opening at the 7 and pushing up through this 13 area right now is a strong signal that 13 is ready to break. But watching in the close, it's got up. Well, it gapped up to this point yesterday, but this early on, this is still showing all the bullish signs. Okay, over here, Tesla, down about 74 cents. We're going to watch it. If it closes convincingly below that 7, we're going to exit and move on to the next trade. I want to take a look at the market. Yeah, see, that's when I see like a Tesla was showing the strength, I know something's going on with the market. It's pulled back a little bit. So let's go look at the futures here. That's Lulu. Yeah, that's what we've seen here the last little bit. The market starting to sell like that. Down 3. As far as a reaction high or low, it's too early to call. You give it about an hour. You could maybe call the high right up in this range, the reaction high, but not really a reaction low set yet. Here's some of the lows from after hours last night, but that's after hours. So we'll watch this throughout the day. If you have any questions, you guys, let me know. I'll be on chat with you. We'll get on here a little bit later, look at some stocks, have a little bit of a training, and then the top 3. And we're looking to enter a challenge trade today. Put the rest of our challenge fund at work for us. Find the next good trade. Okay, I'll be on chat. If you have any questions, you can also reach me through email. That's carl@traderminute.com. Okay, thanks everybody. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.